everyone, and welcome to That's Canon.
Canon.
That's Canon is a new podcast produced by the Frank Armstrong Collective in conjunction with Dave. Dave, how do I pronounce your last name? I feel like
it's Koziol.
Koziol.
If you want the Polish version, it's Koziol, but it's Koziol.
I'm not even going to try and do the Polish version because that's going to turn into some racist-ish where I'm going to sound like I'm trying to make fun and I'm going to feel all rude and I'm going to be like, I done messed up. In the background, you were listening to Free Falling, a beat produced by the one and only Tobi, who is one of the hosts of this awesome show. Tobi, how you doing? That's
not
true.
Not too bad. You?
I'm good, man. Do you want to give people a little rundown of what Abstract is real quick, if they love that instrumental?
Abstract, it's pretty much my producer, one of my aliases, actually. I have another one, which is 186 Beats, but I haven't really started doing stuff under that yet.
Okay.
So I'm kind of I'm doing two different personas, two different types of producers in my head. You know, I have two different genres in there. I kind of want to split them up. So
okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Free Falling falls under Abstract.
That's yeah. I have so many names. Kid Converse was going to be my rapper name back in the day.
Kid Converse.
Kid Converse, yeah.
Oh, dude, I love that.
I know, yeah. I mentioned it before.
I wear Chucks all the time, so that's my...
that's where it came from. I used to always wear Converse, and I was just like, maybe I should turn this into a name, and I was just like, Kid Converse. But it's also because I like to converse, so... Yeah, there's
a little double entendre there for you.
Double entendre pour les enfants. Yeah, and I am Brian Doc Holiday. Tobi and I are host of Geektastic Cypher here on franklinarmstrong.com, and Dave is a comic book writer as well as a comic book consumer.
Consumer and colorist now.
And colorist?
I've upgraded a little bit with Trinity now.
Oh, damn.
So it actually gives me quite more of an appreciation for when I'm reading, actually. It's hard as fuck.
Yeah, it's not easy, right? I know. So we're gonna start.
I remember always wanting to make a comic book of my own when I was younger. I used to meet up with my friend and we'd draw and think of ideas and stuff like that. I don't know what happened to those dreams, man. They seemed like they could happen when I was 13. You know?
Well, Squared Idea is an initiative that would still allow you to do that. Do you want to tell people about it?
Yeah, I was about to say, we have Squared Idea, which is the banner that I've made Trinity, my comic book. Well, I write with my co-writer, Chris, who draws in black and white. I do the coloring for it, or I'm starting to do it. And we have this underneath our banner, Square Idea, which is a Montreal-based company where we are hoping to start our own comic books through it, and then also help any independent artists who are trying to get their feet off the ground, trying to hook them up with either helping them, guiding them to get the resources that they need, or pairing them up with other artists to be able, if you're an artist, you're looking for something to draw, we'll try and find you a writer, and vice versa. Right now, we're keeping it to the writing of comic books and whatnot, but we might expand it to bigger things depending on how successful we become.
That's awesome.
And if I had to give a quick note to anyone out there, just because of what Tobi said, if you ever have an idea, the reason why they escape is because you don't write them down. It's always important to write down the ideas.
Yeah, comedians say that too. Whenever I listen to comedians on podcasts, one of the first things they always say is, if you get an idea, write it down. Write it down immediately, middle of the night, on the pooper, having sex. Just write it on her back. Anyways.
I actually heard of a singer once writing it on his underwear when he was drunk. Actually, Billy, I don't know if you guys know Billy Talent, but one of their main songs, I think The X, is because he was drunk at a bar and he was just like, I have a pen, I have no paper, and just
wrote on his underwear. Oh, boy. Okay, well, guys, we are going to be starting our first episode off with Moon Knight Volume 1, Lunatic, written by Jeff Lemire and art by Greg Smallwood. The comic came out in 2006, if I'm not mistaken, and I'll give you the quick elevator pitch. Mark Spector, a.k.a. Moon Knight, Jake Lockley, Stephen Grant, has been fighting criminals and keeping New York safe for years. Or has he? When he wakes up in an insane asylum with no powers and a lifetime's worth of medical records, his whole identities are called into question. Something is wrong, but is that something Mark Spector himself? So, with that said...
On many levels, yes. That's something is Mark Spector and many others within Mark Spector.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we were each to take our own quick stab at trying to pitch this after we've read the first 5 issues, I think I would pitch it as What's the one where Jack Nicholson goes to the insane asylum? One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, yeah.
So it's One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest meets Batman, is how I would probably... That's my one-line elevator pitch for that.
That's actually not a bad elevator pitch.
I would twist that to...
I would...
Oh, sorry, go.
Topes, go ahead.
Sorry.
I was going to say I'd go as far as 7 Monkeys.
Ooh, yes.
Kind of deranged.
Yes.
With, what was the second one you said again?
One flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Batman.
And Batman. So pretty much 7 Monkeys and Batman for me.
7 Monkeys is the one with Bruce, right? Bruce Willis? Yeah. Wait, is it 7 or 12 monkeys?
No, it's
12 monkeys.
It's 12
Yeah.
monkeys. It's 12 monkeys. I was like, I'm like, wait a minute.
I'm thinking 7, lucky number 11, and 12.
Yeah. There you go.
No, I completely agree with you guys. I would just say if it was my one-liner, I'd say more like Fight Club meets Batman reality type thing.
Yeah,
That's how I would see it. That's how
three. So pretty much mix all of those.
Just mix all of that, but Batman's definitely the constant.
Yeah, Batman's always there. Sorry, Moon Knight. We all know you're essentially Marvel's Batman, but they went one step further with the insanity. Is essentially what we're saying. So the just a mini kind of synopsis of the story. I mean, as per what the description is. Mark Spector has been fighting crime. I think this is considered volumes. You know what? I'll double check that. But if I'm not mistaken, it's volume 7 of the Moon Knight series as it's written under Marvel. Because you know how every time they restarted a number 1, it's a different volume?
Yeah.
So I feel like this one is true to the fact that it accepts the fact that the other volumes existed. The way it's written, the way it starts off where he has memories, and the fact that there's a reference to how he became Moon Knight by Khonshu makes me believe that this is a story that takes place it's a continuity, and it actually does continue.
Yeah, because it's not an origin story of any sort.
No.
It does almost seem like there is a history that he's aware of, that we're of as well.
Yeah, exactly. So going into this one, if you are interested in reading this one after you listen to our review, I would highly recommend, if not reading previous incarnations of Moon Knight, at least doing the research to find out more about him, because I feel like if you don't, this is even more confusing.
I can completely agree, because I actually jumped into this not knowing anything about Moon Knight. The only thing I knew about, the rumor I heard about Moon Knight was like he was Marvel's Batman.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I had heard about before. And then when I was starting to read it, I'm like, okay, there's clearly something behind it. And I ended up like going on like Wikipedia and whatnot. I'm like, oh, now a lot of like jives. And it actually made me have a bit more of appreciation. Like, I like continuity and whatnot. So the fact that they were able to like weave everything into one and not make it too long of a process to get there was actually very good.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of a nod to what they've been doing in the cinematic universe for Marvel, where you are foregoing the origin stories and just kind of jumping in. They skipped it for Spider-Man.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
And Toby, you've said it before on Geektastic. You've mentioned that you don't always really need to fall back on telling an origin story.
You don't. We have flashbacks for that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Give me someone who's like something relevant happening in their lifetime right now, and then show me how they got there.
Yeah.
I don't need to know when they were born and what they ate for breakfast every day. No, I don't need to know all those things. I just need to know what's happening right now. How did they get there? That's it.
You just need the goal points.
Yeah, the nugget, the little nugget in there.
Yeah, and I think that the comic book industry is taking cues from that, because if anything, if Moon Knight's an indication of the direction that future writers are going to be taking, this is a really well done version of that, in which, and it helps to the story. It helps the idea of the story that this character has a history. He remembers it, but that history that he remembers might be part of a broken psyche, and that makes for an interesting story.
Right, because he can't even trust anything.
Exactly. So I mean, that's how I see it, guys. What are your thoughts on? Am I right? Am I on the same page? Are we on the same page?
I think you more or less hit on the head. I mean, I don't want, because I know we're going to start tearing things apart and whatnot. But the one thing,
this is just the intro.
Yeah, exactly. But the one thing that was really, really interesting about it, like you said, like, you're bringing in the past, you're doing it in a way so, because even at that, like, if you're able to just properly focus, I had to read the first issue like twice. If you properly focus, like, you could see how things are easily driving and whatnot. Like, the one thing that is actually very cool about this book is the artistry, which that I'll leave for lyrics. That's the thing I was really interested in with what they're doing. But like the flow of it can be confusing initially. It's actually very well done.
Yeah. From issue 1 through 5, I mean, it's a really well told arc, really quick. It's actually a pretty fast read too.
Yeah.
Whereas
crazy fast because there's not very much to actually read on every page. It's a lot of it's a lot more imagery than actual words. I think in these first 5 issues anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean that's our introduction for it. That's the elevator pitch as we call it, and we actually are going to get to a quick segment right now, and then we're going to come back to our review. So this segment, for those of you who are actually this is the first show. For those of you who are being introduced to the show, the segment is called Judgment Call. Judgment Call is where 2 of the hosts, so either Dave, Tobi, or myself, and the other one is the judge, and the 2 that are playing against each other will pick characters that they feel are underrepresented in their respective universes or, spaces, and they'll have a debate. So they'll present the case for why they feel that character is underrepresented. They have 3 minutes to do so. They get to go back and forth, and then they have 1 minute to break down the other person's argument. After that, the judge will get to make a call, the judgment call. In this week, we are having Tobi and Dave. Gentlemen, Tobi first. Who are you selecting in this edition of Judgment Call?
Now, this is someone who's making it into the mainstream recently.
Okay.
But I still feel deserves more than what we're going to be given in the movie coming up, because the movie coming up is not going to be about him.
Oh,
that character is Cable.
Oh,
it's so appropriate.
That is
this is ridiculous.
That is a good character selection. So Tobi is going to be representing Cable in this edition, and Dave, who are you bringing to the table?
Well, I'll be boasting, or should I say boosting, Booster Gold.
Oh boy!
So it's
Time Traveler.
It's very appropriate, and it's really hilarious that you chose him.
One's a thief, though.
Wait till your turn. Don't start yet.
I won't need all 3 minutes.
And make sure you okay.
And we imaginarily flipped a coin earlier, and Tobi, you're going first. There you go. So, Tobi, I'm going to let you know when your time starts. So, ladies and gentlemen, on this first edition of Judgment Call, Tobi repping for Cable. And your time starts now.
All right. Like I said, I won't need all 3 minutes. But what I'm going to do is I'll give you a quick little rundown of who Cable is. His first appearance was in New Mutants number 87. As Cable in 1990, I believe, or 91. I'm not sure exactly the year right now. Real identity. His name is Nathan Summers. And just to give you a quick synopsis of who that is, he is the son of Scott Summers, who we all know as Cyclops, Madeline Pryor, who is a clone of Jean Grey.
Oh, God.
Cable was raised in the far future from his own, for his own protection, only to return to the present, much older than his dad, with combat abilities that no one could have ever thought of. And you can see there's a scar on his face, I believe. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And a robotic right arm. He's a character with sort of a convoluted history. I think it gives like screenwriters and writers in general anyway, like headaches, because he's got a lot in there that could be told, and there's not one good way I think they found to actually tell that story. But I think his tragic background is what helped turn him into a fan favorite to begin with. So I think there's a lot to be told in that, and if they just took their time and told a really good story about him, I think this guy could be a big hit. And I think he will be, thanks to the Deadpool movie coming out too, which is a huge plus, actually. I'll give you a rundown of his abilities. He's got quite a bit. Cable was born with telepathic and telekinetic abilities. The only issue is, to the extent that he's able to utilize these powers, he can't use them too much because they drain him. There's an infection. It's called the techno-organic infection, I think. And his powers are negligible compared to his traditional fighting skills because of it. So he needs to restrain a little bit, because otherwise he'll obviously die. I don't really think there's much more to say than this, other than this is a guy from the future. Got a lot of powers. He's got a lot of rich story, and he's the son of Cyclops and Jean Grey.
Okay,
that's it. That's all I got, man.
So you had 40 seconds left. You're good?
Nah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so that's going to bring us to...
I'm so interested.
Yeah, Dave's like sitting here like
I'm salivating.
I'm like so ready to do this.
I'm just going to get myself prepared.
Okay, so that was Tobi's defense of Cable as an underrated character, and now we are going to have Dave's for Booster Gold. Your time starts. Oh my god, he has a lot of notes, man. Your time starts.
Yeah, he said he was making a lot.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Your time starts now.
Okay, so first of all, I'll start off by saying you chose one of my favorite characters, so I know a bunch about Cable. But for Booster Gold, it's actually someone who I actually do not like. And after researching him, I was like, holy shit, this guy is a lot more important than I thought he was. So one thing is his perception is that he is a celebrity-seeking thrill junkie trying to be a hero just to get the likes and whatnot, which is actually a huge cover-up for how important he actually is to the DCU. So with that being said, important notes about Booster Gold that a lot of people don't know because they just see this yellow and blue guy and he's all goofy. Important parts about him though is he's been part of major story arcs such as the OMAC Infinite Crisis, which actually he's one of the people who solved the issue at hand. He actually gained Batman's respect and friendship by doing so. He is actually the father of Rip Hunter, who is the mainstay of DC Legends. He's actually the Wave Rider in that show is actually named for one of his alter egos. Fun fact. He's considered in DC as the master of time, the multiverse, and hypertime, which hypertime is essentially the multiverse, but timelines instead. So that's like really important that like no one knows about. He's faced huge villains such as Brainiac and Doomsday and survived, which I find no one knows about. He is someone who, by trait, he's someone who's looking after time. So if you actually were to give him attention, you'd see him be able to explore different eras, timelines, universes, characters for the DC universe, which is really important because they've gone through a lot of changes, such as the New 52 and Rebirth, which you could use them as a way to like plug in all the ways of the loopholes between the universes. And essentially, he could be the DC Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy of You. If he were to get his own comic book or TV show, it actually doesn't necessarily have to be focused on him. It could be focused on, like I said, characters. It could be a perfect team-up book. So not only are you exposing him, but you're exposing other people. He could have a book where, you know, it's all about Robin doing a bunch of stuff, and then he does something wrong, and then he just goes in and flips a switch to, like, fix the universe. But you could learn a bunch about a character by not focusing on him. And I'm not going to take much more. The other fact is that for him, although he's more than a human, he has like just a symbiote suit that helps him do stuff. A techno suit that helps him do stuff. He's someone that, although his stories could be funny or serious, all the consequences could be important. Lastly, being said, he's completely underutilized compared to his other famous Time Master counterparts, such as Cable, Bishop, Doctor Who, Marty and the Doc, Rick and Morty. Hell, Bill and Ted is well known and more respected than Booster Gold, and that's not right. That's not right. He could be a joke in his own universe, but he shouldn't be a joke in reality because he's actually super important.
Okay. That was
I'm sorry, I went to town. I ended up reading about him, and like I found out so much cool stuff about him.
That's that was the buzzer. So Tobi, you got 1 minute to rebut, starting now.
So, quick question, Dave.
Yep.
The flight ring, where did he get that from?
The what?
The flight ring, where did he get that from?
The flight ring, he got that from Legion Doom. Or sorry, Legion of the Future, the Legion of
Legionnaires.
Legionnaires, yeah.
He got it or he stole it?
In one reality, he was given one, and one he was stolen.
Your superhero is a thief. All right?
Oh, I can't wait to like...
He's a thief. He's also the reason why his friend is always in trouble. You want to know who his friend is? His best friend, his supposed best friend? Ted Kord. The only thing I would give him for that is the fact, in this regard, is the fact that he actually decides to come back in time and save his friend a couple of times. That's the one redeeming factor in this crook's life, actually.
Okay.
In this crook's life.
Time travel, the reason no one knows about him is because no one cares. He's a joke in his reality and ours. And he'll never, I don't think, he make it into the mainstream. He's not an interesting enough character. His history, as far as Batman respecting him, that's just Batman giving him a bow.
Oh. Damn. Okay. That almost felt personal at the end.
Yeah, I know, eh? Like, he's like, how dare you choose Booster Gold? Sorry, how dare you choose Booster Gold? Sorry, going a little too close to the mic. That's funny.
Okay, so buddy.
I'll go for it.
Your minute starts now.
Your guy plays God all the time, bro. That's all he does is play God. So, like, if you're going to condemn mine, you can't condemn his. Second of all, your reaction is a perfect example of what I was saying. Everyone's perception of him is he's a joke, but if you actually learn about him, he has a lot more important things going on, such as being one of the strongest time masters in the universe. Cable has already had his chance. He's had his chance. He's had his chance in comic books, now in movies, in many TV shows. Booster Gold has been criticized as a joke the whole time. This is supposed to be giving people a spotlight to shine. The other guy's shine, and now he's rusted like his arm. Okay? Second of all, he's been treated like a bitch in many scenarios when he shouldn't have been. Thirdly, if he wasn't for his little computer that memorizes everything in his arm, he wouldn't know his ass from his elbow, all right? Second of all, like, time shifting all the time. Dude, he's created 50 versions of himself. How, like, insecure is he? Boom.
Lawyered. Damn. Rusted like his arm. Oh my god.
Which one's personal?
I know. And
I love Cable, though.
You both went personal.
I love
that
Cable.
That felt really deep, guys. Do we need to talk about this a bit more?
Those are our clients, man. Those are our clients.
We're going to relationship counseling after this.
Guys, I gotta say, for the first one, that was amazing. So, taking into consideration both sides, Toby, you made an excellent argument for Cable. I think some of the things you said are specifically why Cable is one of the fan favorites. He is an amazing character, has an amazing history, has a rich history, has a lot of really great connections, and is connected to all the right people to make him a star character who deserves spotlight. Dave, you selected a character that is a thief. I granted.
One time.
Sure. But I mean, a lot of what he does stems from that. He's a strong character with scrupulous moral decision making at some times, but a lot of the things you said made him sound super interesting. His abilities, his history, his family connections, and the things that he is overseeing behind the doors, where everyone sees him as the fool, but he's actually doing a lot of quote-unquote God's work, let's say, makes him sound like a very interesting character. With that said, Toby, I do apologize, but this one goes to Dave. I think.
Okay. All right.
I mean, what?
I got the one hand clap.
I'll explain it as, to me, obviously the judgment call comes down to trying to make the judge feel like this is a character you want to read more of. You both made me want to read more Cable and more Booster Gold. It's based on some of the things that Dave said that I never knew about Booster Gold. I really want to look into Booster Gold now. At the end of the day, yeah, he sounds like a far more interesting character than we give him credit for. Hence, Judgment Call being about trying to introduce you, the listeners, to characters you may not pay as much attention to. And in this case, both of them are characters you should pay attention to. But in my case today, I'm going to probably end up reading quite a bit of Booster Gold this weekend. So yeah,
all right.
Yeah, so that was the first. That was the first Judgment Call, ladies and gentlemen, and Dave with the win. Congrats, man!
Thank you, but well done, sir. Honestly, when you chose Cable, I was like, "Damn it, I might lose."
I mean, you both.
I didn't want to hate on. I actually love Cable. Cable Deadpool's like one of my favorite research.
Yeah,
you definitely did your research. Absolutely.
What I mean, I remember one time we were doing like a practice run, and I remember Doc had like all these.
Yeah, I have encyclopedias
in front of me. I'm like, okay, well, I got to bring my A game since how we're doing it.
Yeah,
I'm also a bit too competitive in that regard.
No, that's fair. That was a good one. So you guys definitely, that's one of our favorite segments to do. We Judgment Call is a lot of fun, so we'll hopefully be able to introduce you guys to a whole bunch of new characters through that one. With that said, we're going into our next segment. This is the review of Moon Knight Volume 1, Lunatic, issues 1 through 5 of the 2016 run, written by Jeff Lemire and Greg Smallwood. Who wants to start? Who wants to give their breakdown, their review, their understanding, their feelings?
I'll
speak about your feelings.
How did it move you?
Yes.
When we talk about the overarching story, though, I mean, this is more of a rebirth, finding yourself again kind of story for the first 5 issues.
Yeah.
At least the first 4, anyway. In the 5th one, he kind of starts to get his footing again, and then obviously, as we know, at the end of the 5th issue. He disappears again.
Yeah. I mean, so for me, reading the comic, I've read it before, and I had to reread it for this for the show. Mark Spector has always been a very interesting character to me. Toby, we did an episode of Geektastic where he was one of the DTD characters. DTD is a segment we do, Drain Team Up Defeat, and the character we selected characters with mental illness, and we selected him, Batman, and Sentry. So Sentry diagnosed, Moon Knight pretty much diagnosed, and Batman diagnosed. And Moon Knight as a character has always been super interesting because Marvel, maybe they didn't base him on Batman. Maybe we say that. Maybe we all see it because we like to see similarities between characters. But the reason we say it is because at the end of the day, he really is, the Moon Knight. He's a character who prowls the night with a cowl and a cape. And very similar to Batman.
Exactly, I was going to say not dissimilar to Batman.
Exactly, yeah. And at the end of the day, what I feel the writers and creators of Moon Knight did was take the fact that there are mental issues behind the cowl and bring them up to the forefront. And they took aspects of Bruce Wayne and Batman, the kind of dichotomy, the split, and they turned it into Stephen Grant, the rich millionaire, Moon Knight, Mark Spector, the almost black ops soldier, and for some reason they threw in Jake Lockley, is it Lockley? Yeah, Jake Lockley, who reminds me of, I don't know if you guys remember from Batman the Animated Series. Batman has a character that he plays, his streetwise character,
Matches Malone.
Yeah. So Jake Lockley seems like Matches Malone. And I'm sorry, I know it shouldn't, that's not part of the story, but the reason I'm saying that is because sometimes when I read Moon Knight, I feel like I'm reading a Batman story that someone took and was just like, what if Batman was actually crazy and in a mental asylum the whole time?
Like an alternate universe of Batman.
And there's stories about that. There's people who've written that, Dr. Joe Kerr, like Joseph Kerr is the Joker, and that Batman is actually in a mental asylum, and all these characters that he's seeing. And that was fan fiction when I read it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a couple of years ago I read that. It's a fanfic that someone wrote where, Batman is actually crazy. He's in a mental asylum, and his doctor is Dr. Joseph Kerr, and his nurse one of his psychiatrists is, what's her name? Harley Quinn.
I mean, they could still use Harleen Quinzel, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And then and all the other villains are people who are either in the asylum who pick on him, and that he's fighting against.
That's interesting. And so you saying that right now brings it back to Moon Knight. It's kind of like he's in Arkham.
Yeah.
And the people that work there are the villains because they're pretty much picking on him the whole time.
Exactly.
Trying to lobotomize him and stuff like that all the time. So yeah, it's true. It's very, very, very similar to a Batman.
And that's the thing, because I had read that like fanfic description little story, reading this felt like someone took that and went full throttle with it. And I always wanted to see a version of that story, that the fanfic Batman story. So that's what made this fun for me. Mark Spector as a character is going through a lot of things. He wakes up, he finds out that, the whole history, like we said before, the multiple volumes that came before are part of his, known history that he has. And he's now woken to a situation where he doesn't remember anything. And Khonshu, who is possibly either real and actually gave him these powers and he actually went through all these things, or a figment of his imagination, is trying to talk to him.
And you, as someone who's reading this, you don't know either. So you are Mark Spector.
Yeah,
you are Mark.
You are him because you're not even sure if he is Moon Knight or if Moon Knight even exists.
Yeah.
He goes between two realities at the same time in the asylum. At one point, he's seeing people as regular humans.
Yeah.
The next moment, he's seeing people with dog heads, and he's kind of the whole thing is more is very Egyptian themed.
Yeah, with Khonshu being
Moon Knight mythology, right? So everything he sees is pretty much Egyptian related. So these are like people with dog heads, and the names are like, what's the name of
there's
Amnet?
Amut, yeah.
Amut, because it's Emmet, the name, and it's Amut that he claims that it is, because Amut's the god of judgment.
Yeah, funny enough, judgment call, but yeah. And then you have Set, you have Sobet, I think Sobet shows up at one point.
Yeah, because he's in the prison.
Yeah.
He's in the prison because he thinks that's when he tries to mess around with Mark, thinking that Khonshu's actually manipulating him.
Yeah.
And one thing that I thought was really cool, because you could have done this in a really simple, straight line, the same arc, same artistry the whole way through. One thing I thought was really interesting about it is that every time he goes into a new reality, whether it's a memory, a fake memory, whether it's him actually living out him being in a identity or what have you, and maybe this is just because of the fact that I've started to do the whole comic book in the last year or so and started getting to the drawing and the coloring and everything, but the fact that they use different art styles for everyone, and the actual sleekness of those art styles is actually very surprising. Like, for example, when you start off the first one, it's almost like you're reading one of those old school comic books. Yeah, it's very simply art. It's very simple. They're using the very basic colors to accentuate everything, and then all of a sudden it jumps into like when you're doing the cab driver, the Lockley. It's like all of a sudden like bright colors and this and that, and it kind of, I find it also kind of affects like his mood. Like, one is the reality where he is in prison at the hospital is like more dark, whereas when he's in a happy place, everything is brighter and whatnot. I find they took a really it's very, sorry, go on.
It's very interesting you say that too, because on certain pages when like something like when he's getting lobotomized, for example, the frames on that page are in the shape of an exclamation mark. So there's like 6 different frames and they kind of shape up an exclamation mark. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I know, you mean electrocuted, right? You're electrocuted. Sorry.
Yeah, and then overall, the other thing that's really cool and this is something that sometimes be corny, and I don't think they made it corny, and I think that was something that maybe the writers took a time to be like, we can't do this, is that when he compares, because when he goes from one alternate reality to the other, or memories, obviously people in one reality show up in the other reality, either have different names or different appearances, so on and so forth. But when you're reading it, it's very easy to figure out what's going on. You could see where the mirrored reality is and where it's going, and they do it in a way that, again, it's not corny, but at the same time, you're not trying to search and figure out who's what. Like, it's not one of those things where you're like, oh wait, is this that person? No, it's very easy to identify, whether it be by
they set it up so that
or whatever.
Each character crosses over enough that you don't get lost when you flip. And that's interesting. If anything, though, one thing that I think is we don't get lost as readers because they've made it clear, but Mark tends to get lost. Yeah. And that's an interesting thing. It's funny to read a comic book where your protagonist is the one who's lost. Because that's not usually... I mean, yes. Well, your protagonist...
I know what you're trying to say. Yeah. He's lost, but he's like... He's lost in the sense that like he needs other people to help him find his way. So much so that you don't think he's ever going to find his way. Whereas for example, someone who's lost, like a Batman, goes on a journey to find his way and ends up finding his way. You know what I mean? Because he's not. He's still planted firmly on Earth. This guy is gone. Like he's in outer space in his mind.
The thing is, he seems to suffer, and I don't know if it's because of the electrotherapy or because like you see him get belted with a lot of drugs as well during the thing. He constantly loses his memory. He constantly loses it. He didn't even realize he was there because in the insane asylum, right? He's been there since he's been 13 or whatever, 12, and he's
which is crazy. I mean, as a storyline, like. Things that make it hard for me to figure out what's going on. I agree with you. Him trying to figure out how have I been here since I was 12 is a pretty big part, because he says it himself at one point. Institutions like this don't exist anymore. Like mental institutions where they look like the one who flew over the cuckoo's nest is not really a thing in the way like television tells us it's still like that, but that's not really how they look. And he says that because he's just like, this is all fake. And he's constantly trying to he's trying to justify his need to escape and his understanding of the situation by trying to.
What's messed up about that is that, like, even though he thinks that, because everyone else around him is telling him that that's not true, it could really mess with you like crazy.
Yeah. It really does.
Well, it's just like because at one point in time when I was reading the first 5 arcs, and there were some specific panels that I went over, even 1 or 2 issues that I reread. Because when it comes to something like this, like for example, if you were to compare this to, let's say Fight Club or one of these movies where you have the going through a different reality shift, you try and figure out, okay, which one's the real reality? Is it this one? Is it this one? Is it really that he is one constant person somehow being torn through different dimensions? At one point in time, I feel like they're really trying to make it seem like the mental institution, he's just really here, he's just crazy, and, he's going...
That's my take. I was telling you before we started. I legit think that Marvel has finally decided to write the story that we've always needed for Batman. You were actually crazy. You've been in the mental institution the entire time. Going issues 1 through 5, Jenna talking to him and being like, "Honey, that's a police officer," or like, "Don't you see them?" It's just like, "You mean the rain?" And I feel like, and while reading it, that Crowley character that you meet, I feel like he's taking advantage of the fact that Mark thinks he can get out, and he uses Mark as the means to get out of the mental institution.
It could be, because remember that time when he gets on the boat and he gives up his soul?
Yeah.
Maybe that's how he's actually getting out, because it's actually a cab driver who's allowed. But
I'm just going to get out. I don't want to continue with you. You got me out. I'm good. Yeah.
So
but the one thing
you say that, because I actually do agree in the sense that, like, I do think he is insane. I don't think he is. I almost want him to not be insane. It's weird, because I want to believe, because we're used to this. I want this superhero to exist. But I do know, based on everything I'm seeing right now, and how his personality switches and how his reality switches as often as it does, that this guy, I'm probably just reading, like you said, One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But at this point.
But the one thing I was wondering, because as you said, right, he says, like, this is outdated, all these things are weird, what I'm seeing is weird. And when I hear that, it's like, I'm wondering, because you have this guy Khonshu, and who's trying to take over his body to be able to live, right?
Yeah.
And you could tell that there's people who are trying to stop Khonshu.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, is there a chance that one of these realities are true, but the prison, the prison that someone who's tried to put Mark in is a mental prison that is him thinking that he's in the mental institution? And then on top of that,
when you say mental prison, you mean someone like keeping him telepathically?
Let's say one of the other, because we're basing this off of Egyptian gods or whatever, right? So if you have one guy who's like, okay, well, let's just guess that the Moon Knight is real, right? So I'm going to make you crazy. How am I going to make you crazy? You're going to think you're in an alternate, in this assailant asylum, and to make you think you're even more crazy, I'm going to put a bunch of false realities in your brain.
Yeah.
So that might be a story arc as well.
Plus, you can throw in.
But then, what's happening with the real character of Moon Knight in this scenario? Is he just sitting in a chair somewhere, vegetable?
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows?
We don't know yet. Or that's the thing, right? I mean, that's an interesting take on it, because if that's true, the person is definitely someone who knows him well enough to know his history and to know the characters around him, so that they can use those characters to play off of him. I mean, I think for me, my favorite character in the story is Jenna. Jenna is this black woman who is in the mental institution, and I guess ran a diner at one point and has 2 sons. And the reason I find her to be the most interesting is she's the keeping it real character, right? She's the one who's always looking, and when she sees things happening, she says to them, "Guys, that's not sand falling, it's rain. That's not Sobek, that's a police officer."
Who is she then? She's what, our anchor? We're supposed to hold on to her?
I mean, for me, she's the reason that I think that everything we're seeing is a setup, and I think Crowley is faking it. Because if Crowley...
But then why does she choose to stay in her diner then?
See, that I don't know. I didn't understand, and I don't know later on when she's just like, when she starts saying, "I see the sand," I don't know if she's saying that because she actually is seeing it, or if she's saying it to just appease him. Because, I mean, if you take, so in issue 4, and I brought it up, I pulled it up for myself so I could see exactly. In issue 4, Mark gets into a fight with the police officer, and Jean-Paul dies. Or gets stabbed or something. I mean, it's hard to tell because we're only seeing it from Mark's perspective, and in Mark's perspective, Sobek bit Jean-Paul on the neck. What really happened, I don't know. Maybe he shot him in the neck and he bleeds out.
That's true, because they are in a different... Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so if we're looking at it through... Because we're only seeing it through Mark's perspective, because Mark is the protagonist of our story. So I don't actually know what's going on. Because Jenna's just like, Jenna sees what's going on, sees that, the Jean-Paul's dying, sees that Mark is obviously off his kilter because he just assaulted a police officer, and then all of a sudden, this whole world where she kept saying, "No, it's a police officer, no, it's this," Jean-Paul dies, and immediately her next line is that sand? I don't know what's happening, Mark. Because if you're in a situation where you're with someone who's unstable and dangerous, what's the best way to keep yourself safe? Appease that person.
Whoa. Or what, you think she maybe had a mental break right in that moment too?
No, I'm saying, if anything, what she's doing is, I'm just going to pretend I see the same thing you see and keep you happy. Because he says to her, "Will you help me?" And then he's just like, whenever you're going, Mark, it's got to be better than here. Obviously, there's a dead body and they're in the street. It's definitely better than staying there. And then she takes him to the diner. Granted, I don't get the diner situation. Like, I don't fully understand that moment. But from reading it, I feel like it's one of those moments that, like, she's just trying to figure out the escape. She's trying to figure out how to stay safe with someone who, if I'm looking at it, and like I said, I still think Mark is in the mental institution, or he only got a block away from it when he broke out.
So the Jenna thing is, I mean, I definitely see your point, and I can see how that could be true. Just the way it's drawn and the way it's written, it's very convincing that she's starting to see it. I didn't get that sense that you got.
No, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you that it could be that she is seeing it and she's finally giving in. But I'm just trying to think, because I mean, this comic is crazy.
No, I get it.
It's all over the place.
I think we have to be aware that there are going to be curveballs thrown at us as well.
Well, the comic is making me insane, man. That's the point. Exactly. I'm actually in the asylum in this one.
But one thing I wanted to add on, just because we were saying, I'm just trying to be devil's advocate. Like, let's say they're not in the same asylum. There's one picture where you see, one of Mark's memories where you see all the main characters actually in a diner. They're all having fun. It's one little picture. And then what made me think about, I'm like, what if that's the reality? So that means that's all his friends. And in order to really mess with him, whoever's doing this to him actually took his friends and made them insane too.
Oh, wow.
I thought that as well.
Oh, interesting.
In which case, that would explain why she couldn't see anything before, and now she's seeing things.
Oh.
Like, you know what I mean? Because you see them all have, like, reality checks throughout the book.
So you know how we, Doc, you and I are saying that chances are he's insane, and this is all, like, we're seeing someone breaking down.
Yep.
In front of us.
Yeah.
The other side of it is you actually believe that he is Moon Knight, and what the statement Dave makes sense in that scenario.
Ah, damn.
About his friends being brought in and them being, temporarily insane as well, and then all of a sudden now they're seeing what's real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it also explained why a cop, and people can't see my fingers, so like I'm doing quote unquote, blatantly randomly kill somebody. Because that's the one thing I did. That's the thing that made me actually. Frenchie's death is what made me feel that he wasn't insane. Because, like, if it was a real cop, a cop would tase him.
No,
a cop would be able to restrain a person. They wouldn't have to blatantly kill him, and not just kill him, like go for the jugular, dude. That was like insta kill. Like insta kill. I'm enjoying watching you say your last words.
I hate that I have to say this, but you're saying that from the perspective of a white man. As black guys, as two black guys, I definitely see a scenario where a cop pulls a gun and starts slaying people in the street. Okay,
we're not trying to go on that. We're not trying to get on a political thing. I don't want to be the token white guy in this. Like, I don't want. That's not what my plan is here. So that's another side. That's a whole other topic.
I'm just saying, but legit saying though, because you're saying like you wouldn't see how a cop could just kill somebody like that. I honestly, from my perspective, I do see how he could just kill him easily.
Also, he was attacked first.
Yeah,
and on top of that, he's outnumbered.
Yeah,
so
take race out of it.
He's not shooting to subdue; he's shooting to kill because his life is in danger.
Yeah, exactly. If we take race out of it, I mean, everything Toby said applies still. Yeah. That's true.
I'm shut down.
I'm still. I still do enjoy that. You were the one that said it. As soon as you said it, I was just like, yes. I'm teasing you, buddy. I'm teasing.
I have like a dunce cap on. People can't see me right now.
Sorry, Toby.
I said it wasn't even a question to us. We just like, oh
yeah, exactly. Okay, guys, that's the review of the comic right now. We are going into our next segment. This is best, favorite, worst. This week we are going to be selecting our best, favorite, and worst X-Men. So how do you guys want to? Dave, would you like to go first?
I'll take a stab at it. I mean, one thing I think I'll say is that in my assessment, I'm just going to take Wolverine out of the equation.
Yeah, we decided
if you agree to that, only in the sense that I think everyone would be like, well, he's the best at what he does. All of a sudden, and then a lot of people are just going to be upset. You're going to be like, he's on the front cover of every single.
How is Wolverine
he's
not
in
your
every
best?
book alive. So we're just going to kindly take him slightly out.
Yeah, he's out of the equation.
So I think the best is a hard thing to say. I think the best in the sense, if you're going to talk about power and everything, it would be Jean Grey in the sense that she was the Phoenix. She's the one who, without her, we would have never been exposed to the Phoenix for the first time and whatnot. And honestly, one of my favorite story arcs was actually when the Phoenix came back and was split between the 5 X-Men being Cyclops, Namor, Magic, Colossus, and I know I'm missing one. I can't remember him at the moment.
Emma Frost?
Emma Frost. No, it wasn't Emma. It was another one I can't remember at the current moment.
Emma Frost.
No, because I remember her. Oh, yeah, it is, because they had a fight. Yeah, it is Emma Frost.
Yeah.
So I would say Jean Grey, I think, is the best. Also because she's brought out some of the best story arc and has allowed us to see many things, such as like intergalactic wise as well. I'd say my favorite, and again taking Wolverine out of this, I think I've always had a soft spot for Gambit. I love Gambit. I find he's a little underplayed, and when I found out that Mr. Sinister took out like 75% of his power, I'm like, this guy's a bit more badass than anyone really knows.
That's true. That's always something that people forget.
Yeah,
he's like really depowered.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he's always just been one of my favorites, because he's also one of these guys who's sleek, and he has like that I don't know, je ne sais quoi about him. A little man crush on him, maybe. I definitely say my worst. I know exactly who he is. It's a specific student. His name's Goldballs, and like, I'm gonna just be honest.
Poor Goldballs.
That's his thing. He shoots gold balls out of his body at any time. He can't control it. It's not like these gold balls hit something and explode or something.
He learns to control it, though.
He's shooting gold basketballs at people, dude. Like, I'm not, he's the worst. He's the worst. And he's also a pussy for like so long of a period of time. Like, you see someone who's like afraid because he only has balls. Yeah. For a guy who has balls, he has none.
You won for that.
And I'll pass it on to Tobes.
Man, best and fave is kind of like, it's hard to pick which one. There's not, to me, a best, I guess, would be like top 20 best. Right? I can't necessarily say one is better than the other. If I did have to pick that, I would pick Wolverine, and unfortunately we're not keeping him in this. For the same reason we'd all probably pick him.
Yeah.
But I will go with one of the best X-Men, and in my favorite X-Men movie so far, X2, the opening scene with Nightcrawler in the White House. Nightcrawler, to me, best. And that depiction of Nightcrawler, to me, is the best as well. Yeah. Alan Cumming, amazing. Did so well. And man, that opening scene with him taking out the guards, and I was like, whoa, imagine you've never seen this on screen, a character like this. The first time I saw it in theaters, I couldn't believe it was happening. I was like, oh my God. They actually did it.
When I got the DVD, I rewinded that like 20 times. It was great.
Yeah, same. Maybe 500.
He actually has one of the best, and I'm not trying to take anything away from you, Tobi. I want to add on to your point. He actually has one of the best cameos in Marvel Ultimate Alliance. He has like one of the best like video scenes that they do as well. He's very good.
I have to take a look at that. So I think as far as like my choice for best today, and honestly, this is probably someone I should have gone with in Judgment Call earlier, because I definitely love to see more of him, either in the movies, taken just in the forefront more, and less of this scared, character that they've kind of made him out to be in the movies right now. Fave, this one's tough too. Fave, I'm gonna pick him because, again, someone I feel like they've just not done enough justice in any iteration. Archangel.
Oh, good. Yeah, good selection.
Right?
Yeah.
Worst rendition is in Apocalypse.
There's so much I feel that you can do there. I myself personally am guilty of not knowing very much about it, Archangel, but that's because it hasn't really been pushed towards like the forefront.
Yeah.
Aside from, his whole saga where he loses his wings and gets the metal wings, like that's the most famous one that I think most people know.
Yeah.
But I think he deserves to be a prominent part of the team, if not the movies at this point, at this stage. This is a character. I mean, look at him. He looks cool. Like, this is literally an angel in real life. And then the worst. It's funny enough because this is a character that Dave brought up not too long ago for, I forget what segment or something we were doing a while back, but Shatter. Worst.
Oh, yeah.
He's just another like mullet bearing like pirate.
I can't talk to you right now.
I'm gonna do this as The Rock, all right? Shatterstar, you're a mullet bearing, pirate shirt wearing, impractical weaponry wielding mother lover. No, he's just
That's
terrible.
Fair.
I don't like that character.
I so know if we ever face off in Judgment Call, you spoil alerts what's gonna happen.
Oh man, he's bringing Shatterstar in. All right. Well, those are my selections anyway.
One thing I wanted to add, just because you were talking about Archangel, and because I so happened to watch the movie yesterday, I watched X-Men Apocalypse, and the one thing I agree with you should be in more movies, but now he's dead. Which is just stupid because in the movie you see him break out of a steel prison with his, and then he's in a plane and he can't leave the plane because he can't puncture through the steel frame of the plane to leave, and he dies brutally in a plane crash. Yeah. The irony made me so angry in the movie. I even yesterday I almost wanted to whip like my remote at my TV. I was like, it still makes me this angry to this day.
These guys already know my feelings on X-Men Apocalypse. It's so low on the bar.
There was a lot of good things, but mainly it's that last 5 minutes at the end with the suits that made me happy.
Nothing good about it.
So for me, the best is Storm. Storm represents so many things. For someone who is treated like a goddess, to be that humble, she's also one of the best leaders, if not the best leader of the X-Men. I mean, Cyclops, might have been the more recognized leader, but when it came down to it, Storm, to me, comes across as the one who's more well-grounded. Once again, for someone who is treated like a goddess, being grounded seems like something that would be hard to attain, but she does it so well. At least in the comic book universe. In the cinematic universe, the depictions of her were never that positive. Halle Berry wasn't great, and the other young woman, I unfortunately don't remember her name now, but her version of Storm craved power in a way that Storm never really seemed to me to crave power that way.
But young Storm when she's a thief?
Sure, I get that. And that makes sense because she was scared. She's on the streets. She's living her life. She's trying to make a name for herself and survive. So I could see how power would be something she would want. But it's just in the comic book, I guess I'm just used to. I've never really seen Storm to be that type of person, and for that reason,
they made her a common like street rat.
Yeah, so she's the best for me. My favorite, I don't know technically he's a X-Men.
I could confirm this. I looked at the list this morning. James Maddox, the
Multiple Man.
He's never an X-Men. He's never an X-Men.
Only X Factor, right?
Yeah. He's been very closely associated, but he's never been officially on a team, I think.
That sucks. I mean, then that means for me, favorite is Gambit, because it's always Gambit or it's always a toss up between Gambit and Multiple Man, because they both have similar attitudes in the sense that they're rogues. Even down to the trench coat, which has become the rogue's uniform.
Oh, yeah. Rorschach.
Yeah. If you're a rogue, you wear a trench
Raphael
coat.
Always has it.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So
funny you say rogue. Was Rogue and Gambit ever a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a huge thing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
And then the worst X-Men for me, I'm pretty sure this guy's an X-Men. Mimic.
Yes.
Yeah. I hate Mimic.
What does Mimic do again?
Mimic mimics powers. That's all he does.
So he's just like he's
the Peter Petrelli of heroes. That's
like a Mystique of Mystique.
No, because Mystique can actually change her body. This guy can just pop fake claws and make fake stuff. He sucks.
But are they, as like example, if he tries to mimic Wolverine's claws, are they adamantium?
No.
Are they just? Oh, okay. So he just.
No.
Oh.
He can just.
Can I point out a point here though? You remember how you just brought Mystique in the first X-Men movie? Mystique actually takes on the appearance of Logan, Wolverine, and pops claws as well.
Yeah,
but I think that's because it's physical.
That?
Yeah, I do. But when they actually put claws to claws, hers weren't
they
real,
snapped.
were they?
Hers were fake, right?
Exactly.
So wouldn't that be the same thing as Mimic then?
Sure.
Because like if he mimics the exact power, like let's say he mimics the exact healing abilities of Wolverine and is all named Jax.
Sorry, I pulled out my encyclopedia for this one. The son of research scientist Calvin Ralkin, blah 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 blah. His name's Mimic. Can ape the power and abilities of up to 5 individuals at a time. Can only wield power at half strength. Okay, so he gets. So instead of adamantium claws, he'd get steel. Yeah, some pretty strong claws. He absorbed Wolverine's healing factor once and survived an encounter with the Hulk.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that's impressive. He still sucks. There you go. He's when it comes to worse. I can't stand that kid.
Put him in the dugout with gold balls.
Reminds me of Skin. You guys remember Skin?
No.
Yes,
that?
I do. I do.
Skin. I'm thinking I'll get you his ability.
Oh, sorry, homie. You cut out for a second. You want to repeat that?
Sorry, I was like, I'm going to get you his abilities real quick. Okay. So Skin possesses approximately 6 feet of extra skin.
Ew.
No.
He was capable of stretching, deforming, wrapping, expanding, and compressing this extra amount of epidermis.
But this is the skin.
He's a crappy version of the elongated manner of Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah,
no, but I mean,
he's using that extra skin to like do all these acrobatic stunts and stuff like that. That's it, dude.
Does it always? Is it always hanging off, or because can he tighten it back?
Yeah, I mean, he can do whatever he wants with it. He can manipulate however it wants, but...
So it really is just like an elongated man.
Because I just imagine, like, just because you're like, does it just stick out? I bet he's, like, lifting up his arm, and it's just, like, this flap that he's just, like... trying to do, like, the Banshee thing when he jumps off a building.
That's exactly
like
it.
Flying squirrel. Ew.
Actually, sidebar, Banshee's also one of my hated.
Oh, yeah? You'll have to save him for next time, then. So that's best, favorite, worst here on That's Canon. And, next up, our final thoughts on, once again, Moon Knight, Volume 1, Lunatic, 2016, from writer Jeff Lemire and artist Greg Smallwood. So, guys, final thoughts. What are we feeling? How did we feel? Would we recommend this to a friend?
I'll go first. Yes. So I picked this up on my own. Like months ago, because I think Moon Knight has come up quite a bit actually in our discussions on Geektastic, and just one day I walked into the store and I picked up Lunatic, this first volume, and honestly I actually will like to read whatever this goes, because I've never read a comic book like this in terms of like me not being sure. You go in knowing what to expect, you go in knowing what to expect from the hero, but you don't know where the story is going to go a lot of the times, right?
Yeah.
This time, you don't know what to expect from this guy. You can't even trust him at all.
Yeah.
You can't trust him. You can't trust him to take you where you need to go in this story.
Yeah.
So you kind of at the same time are figuring it out. It's crazy. You are figuring it out at the same time as him, and you hope that you have a better grasp or understanding of his story and his life than he does.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. So it's actually one of the most compelling reads I've had in a while in terms of an actual comic book. That's almost written in the form of a graphic novel.
Yeah, I agree.
Put it that way. And so I would definitely are we rating this out of 5 or 10? It's
a 5 usually. I'm
5. I will give this a very great.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Yeah. Let's do it on 10, because I feel like on 5 it limits us, because once you say 4 you're like, damn, that's 80%. And
exactly. So I was actually going to give it 3.75, but I'm going to go with 8 out of 10 for this one.
Okay, there you go. Okay. Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
Dave, go ahead, hit us.
I will give this one thing. I will give the book definitely top marks in regards to the artistry. If you're someone who really enjoys art, I really think it's really well done. In regards to making suggestions, I would maybe not make this suggestion to all the comic book lovers out there. I'd give it more to people who like unique story arcs, like anyone who I know who likes really psychological and wondering what's going on and likes that mystery aspect of it. I would definitely make this suggestion. For someone who's jumping into it and doesn't know a lot about Moon Knight and doesn't want to do any background check, you might be a little less intrigued, and you might get a little bit.
I was one of those people. Sorry to cut you off. I was one of those people, and honestly, super interested.
Oh,
well, that's the thing. Well,
nothing.
Yeah, but you like comic books.
Oh, I see.
If you're talking like if I was to pitch this to someone who's never read a comic
exactly.
before,
like I'm saying, like if you're just talking to the average person, they might not necessarily pick it up. I think a lot of people who are like comic books,
it's not a good first read.
No, exactly. Right? It's like if I was picking up someone off the street, I'd be like, pick up Spider-Man. I'm not going to offer you Moon Knight. Yeah. But if you're an avid comic book reader and you need something new, this is definitely something that I'd put out there. That's right. And as far as my grading, I would give this I'd give it a solid 7. If it was a bit more into like my ballpark, I could easily have given it an 8 like Toby did though. But I'd give it a strong 7 based off of like a general public aspect.
Yeah. For me, I think the way I would pitch this to people is the same way I introduced it. If I would tell Batman fans specifically, if you're a Batman fan and you've always wondered what it would be like if Batman was actually crazy this whole time, this Moon Knight story is a perfect start for you. It takes all the kind of aspects of a shattered mind that your lead protagonist might have, and puts you in a world where you have to question every decision and every person and every thought he has. You're wondering, is this the psychosis? Is this, now that Dave's mentioned it, is it someone playing a trick on him and like telepathically controlling his mind? Is it Is everyone
Is it you, the reader?
Yeah. Am I going crazy? I feel like I'm going crazy. But that's what I like a story that makes me question it. And I'd also add on top of that, I would probably pitch this to people who prefer graphic novels, because Toby, you're right. Mm-hmm. I see this more as a graphic novel fan read than a comic book read.
110%. 110%.
This, at the end of the day, comes down to you. I'm not saying if you're the casual fan, you couldn't jump into this, but if you're someone who's looking to start comic books, I think we've all said it so far. This is really not the place for you to start. It's a little dense. It's well written. But it jumps around quite a bit, and it helps to know Mark's story a little bit. At least, like I was saying, Toby, you know comic books enough that you knew who Moon Knight was. If you were someone who's never read Moon Knight and you pick this up, and the first issue is about someone in a mental institution who seems really confused, and you don't understand his history, the references to the history won't make sense. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, if you really want to, and this is where you want to start, and you find stories like this interesting, by all means. Mm-hmm. We're not saying don't do it, but I'm saying it helps to know the history.
Yeah. Well, it's just like we said earlier on, like whether you like. I gave Fight Club. It was I forget.
You gave Fight Club. I said One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and Toby, you said 12 Monkeys. Yeah.
If you like any of those types of things, definitely a pickup. Definitely a pickup.
True.
Or if you even like, if you're someone that likes noir, on noir stuff, because it has that feel to it. And again, I don't know if it's a noir stuff or a graphic novel, like we've been saying.
Exactly.
Those would be the reasons to pick this up.
Yeah. So those are our final thoughts, guys. And one last segment for you. Top of the pile. This is where we tell you guys about things that we've recently read. We don't usually go into too much detail, but it's more just like why you should. I'm going to go first because I have two things I want people to catch up on. The first one is the latest issue of Saga is out. Issue 49 came out recently. So if you guys are fans of kind of a Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings style story, they're up to issue 49 right now. So I wouldn't say start with this issue, but I would say if you want, binge away, because it's a very good read. And then the other one I would tell you to read is issue 144. Once again, this is one where you should read the whole thing, but issue 144 of Invincible came out, the final issue by Robert Kirkman. He wraps up the entire story in this issue, and it's actually really touching. It's super interesting. It's well written. I think it was a little too fast paced for me personally, because he legit had to wrap up every story.
Okay.
That Invincible has gone through for 144 issues, so that's a lot of work to be done. So it's quite heavy, but it's really good. So those are my two top of the piles. Gentlemen, who would like to go next?
All right. I'll go real quick because I don't actually. I've been slacking a bit in terms of my reading, so I got a lot of catching up to do. I don't want to make any recommendations just yet until I've read a few.
Okay.
A few more. But I do have one future recommendation up as well.
Okay.
Ta-Nehisi Coates writing Captain America.
Yes, July 4th.
Captain America after he was written by written into a Nazi hole. He's finally going to get pulled out of that.
Yeah,
pulled out of that and given his proper dues.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for that one. So once that one comes out, I'll definitely be on that. I think maybe we should cover it on this show as well.
Oh, nice. Definitely, yeah.
I will do a shout out to what Brian said. I actually started reading Saga. I'm at issue 18. It is actually a very, very good, interesting read. But my top of the pile would be I could make a suggestion of two. One would be Red Hood and the Outlaws. Right now, you don't and there's been a lot of reiterations since the New 52 came out. But if you were just to take the Rebirth version, which you would see Red Hood with Archimedes, I think I brutalized her there, and then Bizarro. That's the team, the trio team. It's a very interesting read. I think I might be one issue behind, but it's very interesting. And the current story arc is how Bizarro is actually not dumb.
Oh,
something happened to him that he's essentially just as intelligent as what would be Superman. It's actually very interesting.
So what is he, like? He's a reverse Hodor?
It's kind of basically. I don't want to spoil anything, but basically he was exposed to something that basically had a reversing effect to his being dumb. It's and whether it's permanent or not is unseen, but it's very interesting because it's it's just an interesting take on Bizarro, and who's usually a one-dimensional character.
I will ask one question. Does he still speak in reverse, though? Yes
No.
means no. Oh, okay.
No.
Okay, cool.
But I mean, when he starts off, because initially he's dumb, he still talks slow and sometimes mixes up words. But now, after the event, I'll say, because I don't want to spoil it for anyone, he becomes intelligent. It's just, I thought initially when I read it, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be dumb. And then like as I've read every issue since, I'm like, this is really, really interesting. And another arc I will give is the Despicable Deadpool, which is now, ironically, the first arc is him going after to try kill Cable, because long story short, Strife saved 4 people for Deadpool, 4 people that Deadpool loves. He saved, and he's like, now you have to kill 4 people, and that's what starts off with the Despicable Deadpool. And the first person he has to try and kill is Cable, and it's a very good, interesting story arc. In which case, if you did see this, you'd notice how Cable is actually a kind of an asshole, like, a rusty Trump. No, I was gonna start it.
Still digging. It's definitely personal.
I left everything on the court, bro.
I know.
This is his bragging rights.
Judgment call is done. He's still talking about it 40 minutes later. Anyway,
you won, man. You won.
Oh man.
No, that was just playful hating. But definitely both of those. But I will give the caveat: I'm unbiased. I love Deadpool. I'll watch anything Deadpool, or talk anything Deadpool. So.
Okay, boys, that's the first show. Thank you guys for so much for tuning in to this wonderful podcast. This is That's Canon, available on franklinarmstrong.com. And hopefully you will listen to our other podcast, Geektastic Cypher, also available on franklinarmstrong.com. We're probably going to put this first episode up on our same Geektastic Cypher stream as a special to introduce people to it, and then we're going to continue making more episodes. So stay tuned for more That's Canon. So once again,
please come back.
Do you want to tell people the website for all the Squared ideas?
Yes. Well, just to throw it out again, if you're interested in trying to start up a new comic idea, or you're an artist looking for some type of connection to the comic book world, you're more than welcome to reach out to me, Chris Nicholson, or Mike Wilcox at squared-idea.com. You can also check us out on Facebook. We currently have 2 issues out right now, Trinity and The Fathom, which you can check out on Patreon. Just look up Squared Idea or those titles, and you should be able to find. In which case, I'll even just give a shout out to Patreon. It's a very good way to find new artists and to see upcoming artists that don't get backed up by the big Tobi and DC and Marvel. And that's about it.
And then for us, you can always follow us on franklinarmstrong.com. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at @AStrongFranklin. You can also follow us on Vero, the new social media app. We are doing really well. We have more followers on Vero than we have on Twitter right now. So a big shout out to everyone following us on there. Our name on Vero is Franklin Armstrong Collective. So we post up links to episodes. We post up recommendations for trades that you should read. And if anything, we're probably going to post up this Lunatic as one of the things that you should check out. We'll put this up as a recommendation. And then also find us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/Franklin Armstrong DOTCOM. And if you want to check out some of our stuff on YouTube, we have that under tinyurl.com/Franklin Armstrong DOTCOM. That's the show, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll be back in soon. I don't want to tell you next week or in a couple weeks. We'll be back soon. You'll get next episode. Oh, there we go. That's what we'll say. We'll be back next episode. So thank you very much for tuning in. We're out, guys. Have a good one.
Peace.